Hi, folks. Hope everyone is doing amazing. This is my second attempt at recording this. It's extremely hot in New York right now, so I tried recording this outside so you can see something better. But it's too hot and keeps shutting down my phone. So instead, I'm just gonna let you guys look at this Alexa Bliss autograph card. It's better than other options. So, anyways, what I'm gonna do is just talk about Fanatics Fest in terms of our experience this year, 2025. It's our second time going. So we went in 2024. We went all 3 days. We paid both times for VIP, and I'm gonna take the angle also, obviously, just as a regular person, not a quote unquote influencer. I'm not being compensated at all by Fanatics in any way through either marketing or passes or anything like that. Just a regular collector, right? So all things being equal, I'm also gonna take the perspective of we haven't been to the national in a few years, so things that might have changed, but I'm gonna do some comparisons, all things being equal, that the national is similar to what I previously remember it as. I could be wrong, but and then also obviously I'm going to compare it to its previous year as well. So anyways, here I go. So I'm going to start off with the pros about Fanatics Fest this year. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is that there are a lot more dealers, both with vintage cards and also modern. A lot more dealers this year than last year. With a variety, and also including like things like TCG. It's a lot more TCG slash Pokemon stuff than last year. Obviously, it's a hot market. I totally understand. And they spread it out a bit more rather than just having everybody, all the card dealers in one area. They spread it out a bit. They mixed it in with some of the quote-unquote experiences, which is good and bad depending on the dealer, because sometimes I walk by certain dealers, I didn't even realize it. I have the walkthrough videos, folks, if you haven't seen that, for all 3 days, both levels. But more dealers, was a good thing. So that's the first thing. Second thing is the improved autograph and photo lines. So this is the comparison from last year. Last year was a disaster. This year the lines were organized. They were there's a lot more space. They moved that area now to the basement. So that actually helps. With the spacing. Last year there were many difficulties because of the different lines, and we didn't know where we were really lined up and who was getting where. This year it was pretty clear, who was platinum, who was VIP, and who was general admission. Granted, when it got busy, they would actually switch. Sometimes they'd take one from platinum, one from VIP, one from general admission. I know, I get why they would do it. It's just some people obviously, we didn't mind, but obviously some people in VIP weren't happy about it. I can see where their point is as well, but it's just something I guess they have to live with. But overall, definitely better job on the autographed and photo op lines. They were also better organized, like I mentioned. So like no skip the line passes this year, which is great. Those things caused chaos last year because you would have a whole line of people, and someone walk to the front and present one of those skip the line passes and say, I'm going to go to the front. And some of the volunteers would actually accept it or try to, accept it, and then that would be a big issue. So this year, there was none of that, which was really great. The people working the lines this year as well, they were much better informed, like I mentioned. They knew where things were. They mentioned obviously when things started progressing, have your item ready, have your pass ready. excuse me, that's much better organized than previous years. Previous years was frankly a nightmare compared to this year. So, good job, Fanatics there. Let's see here. I mentioned no more skip the line passes. Last year, it was a big issue all over the place. It spread to all different facets of Fanatics Fest, from autograph lines, photo op lines, the tops, the exclusive lines, everything. This year, more giveaways. More giveaways in terms of, I guess, they had more corporate sponsors this year, corporate booths, and they were giving away stuff. So I know one of them was they were giving away golf balls. Raising Cane's was there, and I believe they were giving a sample of their chicken fingers, like in little servings. Really good chicken fingers, by the way. But it was nice, that they were doing that. That was really good. Also for the kids as well. So that was good. Moving the auto and photo op was a great idea down to the bottom row. It did offer a lot more room for the corporate section as well, because last year it bled into the corporate section, the lines from the autographs, and then you have both people that were doing the activities not happy, right? So taking the downstairs definitely was a much better idea this year, so great job there. The VIP bags. VIP bag this year was much better than last year's. Last year's, had a bunch of I had a bunch of soccer packs. This year you got a box of Series 2 base. You got a ball, a t-shirt, a hat, and a pin. So that's much better. The tops, booth exclusives. So that was run much better this year rather than last year. There was not a massive line for product. Last year they were selling the Series 2 Big Apple Refractor Chrome boxes. Even with, and there was such a mess with that because you had lines with general admission, you had lines with VIP, and then also you had people presenting that skip the line pass. So at one point, for us, and I kind of, I wasn't happy at this point, but the one of the volunteers was actually creating a skip the line VIP pass line. So there was an additional line in addition to the VIP pass. So it made no sense. But anyways, this year was a much better run. When we were lucky enough to have the option of picking up the Cactus Jack box. So we picked that up. It was clean. It was quick. It was great. So nice job there, Tops. They're selling the blasters this year. The base Series 2 base blasters with the Big Apple refractors, $50, but there wasn't a big lineup. And then obviously we love New York City, so having it here, New York City's great. Besides Fanatic Fest, we're enjoying the city. We're in the middle of a heat wave, but that's okay. Again, we love it. Okay, so let's now move on to the cons, or things they can improve. Okay, so the cost of the VIP is going up. Well, okay, I can't say for the other tickets, but I know the VIP packages, it is going up significantly, has gone up significantly, and possibly will go up again. So it's getting pretty pricey. And frankly, even with the bag, with $500, I think I paid to get a box of base, a shirt, a hat, a pin, and a ball. From our previous experiences with the National, they would make National specific things in there, right? It'd be nice if Fanatics actually had something like that for either the VIP members or whatever. Maybe, I know there's higher tiers, but I'm not really prepared to spend that much money, for this. In terms of also the exclusives, so those prices went up. So the Cactus Jack boxes went from 300 last year to 500 this year. The boosters and the Hobby Series 2 with the big Apple refractors, they stayed the same price wise at $300 for the Hobby and $50 for the blasters, but relatively you're not getting chrome cards, right? Because I mean, I know you hit the big Apple refractors, which I believe are chrome still, but everything else is base, so you're actually paying more up relatively there. So you know, it has gone up, so cost has gone up. There are more corporate sponsors this year, booths. And now I'm a collector. You know, I come here obviously for the cards and getting some autographs and things like that. The sponsors, I get where they need to do it, especially if they're losing big money doing it, but it just takes, you know, some of the, I guess, the enjoyment out for me. But you know, I guess it's a necessary evil, but I consider it a con. Okay, the panel lines. So when you're going in to speak, you know, to watch those panels, the lines, they were not great. So there was a couple of times there was confusion on where the VIP line was, the media, the excuse me, GA was pretty clear. Unfortunately, those folks were really swamped. But there was that, and also, you know, going to the actual auditorium, you know, there was kind of a rush. Like they just tell you to go, 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 right? So some people started like running and not a great and safe environment, not really organized. And then actually, excuse me, when we're actually in the panel, you know, certain ones obviously are different, but you know, at one point they had like kids and adults standing on chairs to you know, and people couldn't see, right? If you're in the back and someone does that, forget it. You can't see, right? And it's also dangerous for you know, especially kids, to be standing on these chairs, right? I get it, you know, people want to see, but at the same time, you know, maybe having someone just tell everybody to sit down and everyone can see, you know, especially the people at the front, right? It would be you know, better organized that way, and I think everyone would have a better experience that way. And then also, obviously, Fanatics avoids, you know, any potential liabilities. Let's see next. Okay, too much waiting in line. Time waiting in line. Now, obviously, this is relative to what you choose to do. So, like our second day, for most of that day, we spent waiting in line. We had autograph sessions with CM Punk, The Undertaker, and Alexa Bliss. Really nice autograph. Really nice person too. We spent a lot of time waiting in that line. CM Punk one was delayed. I get photo ops are an issue as well. But we spent a lot of time, and then we went over for two panels. We went for the Yankees dynasty, the 27 rings, and the shop, the LeBron James one. Oh no, I apologize. You know what? The shop, and then the WrestleMania. That's it. But anyways, we waited a long time for those. They didn't start on time. You know, it's like I mentioned, the lines are long, hard to get a seat. You know, it ate up a lot of time. So I was just thinking in terms of, if you're someone who bought a general admission pass, you know, with your kid, and you want to go see LeBron James or Derek Jeter, you know, unfortunately you're going to be eating up most of your day, and you won't be able to actually go enjoy the floor, right? Maybe get an autograph. It's hard, right? So that's another thing. And I had a VIP pass as well. Just remember that. So I cannot imagine what the um, the general admission experience as well. Um, Moving on, overall the prices for cards I found were high. Um, I'm someone that collects vintage a lot, so I can speak more on the vintage side. I have some some modern stuff, but for the most part I do vintage. But I found that obviously this crowd's more geared towards flipping, um, and obviously more modern cards, but and TCG and stuff. But I found that like the overall cards, the prices were high. So I guess when people were trying to flip or trade, it was a real big disadvantage. And dealers were open to negotiating, but I find that when you're starting at such a high point, you have to like just do you have to be a I guess aggressive dealer to actually get a decent price on some stuff. Um, you know, it was like that last year as well. And obviously, the cost of the table was probably high. From what I hear, it was high. But I found that at least the sticker prices a lot of the time, they were marked pretty high. Next thing, so in terms of a negative, I guess this is for the industry, but a lot of people I saw were dumping cards. I saw adults, I saw kids, going from dealer to dealer, trying to sell their stuff. I know it's a bad economy, but this isn't necessarily a great sign for the quote unquote hobby. Or I'm starting to realize it's really purely a business, right? There is, the hobby is really, there's really a big difference between the hobby now and the business side of sports cards. And I think this is becoming let's put it this way. I was actually talking to my wife and I was telling her, when I see people, and I was there, they don't see that. So for instance, I picked up a Jackie Robinson rookie here, right? And the reason why is because, I greatly admire Jackie Robinson for obviously a lot of the things he's done in history, the way he handled himself, great admirer, so I finally was able to pick up a rookie, and I paid I guess it'd be a fair price, fair to generous, let's put it that way. It wasn't a great price, right? I know you're not going to get steals on Jackie Robinson rookies, but it was all the sticker I looked everywhere, they were all marked high, right? But for myself, like I buy it, I collect it, like it's mine, right? I'm not going to. That's another thing is that I'm not going to flip it or sell it, barring I don't need to for obviously reasons like food or shelter. But I saw other people buying things, looking at them like it was a share of Goldman Sachs or Nvidia or GameStop or whatever, or or gold bullion or something along those lines. I didn't see like people. I don't know. I just felt like people didn't connect with what they're actually buying. Obviously, everyone's doing comps, and that's obviously just a relative game because relative valuation, it can be manipulated, et cetera, right? So, but I did see a lot of people dumping, which is not great for, the quote unquote hobby, right? Okay, so the next thing. This one's a little bit spicy, but seeing like the off-camera side of social media and influencers. Now, obviously, I make content, but I'm not a big or quote-unquote professional content creator. I know it's a tough job. I give them credit. It's just that when I get to see, I guess how the sausage is made, you have a much different perspective on things, and talking to some of these people. You get to realize that it's it really is definitely not what is presented, right? Like like when I buy my Jackie rookie, or it's not how it's presented, right? And then also in terms of how influenced, how how you can be influenced by a particular party. And again, I used to work in finance, folks. I used to be, I used to work on the advisory side. And, when you have wholesalers who offer you things like booze, tickets, dinners, free dinners, to use their quote unquote mutual funds, I get it, right? So, I mean, you have influencers here who either get marketing deals, who get free tickets, media passes, all those things. They're gonna obviously present a different side. I get it, but at the same time, as as a content creator, I guess you just from my perspective, I don't need their sponsorship or anything like that. We just do this for fun. We give the revenue to charity. But I get why they do it, but at the same time, it is a little misleading, to the regular collector or the person who's investing, quite frankly. There are, as much as I don't consider sports cards an investment, I think liquidity is very poor. I think commissions are too high. I've been doing it for 40 years. I know that majority of your cards will not hold their value, right? That's the reality of it, and I'll near the end of this video, I'll even talk about certain things that, could happen that could put that prediction true. But anyways, that's why with social media, I just, influencers, I see how it's being done, and you get to realize, especially Fanatics Fest, they do control the narrative. Fanatics Fest this year, I feel they're doing that a lot more, obviously. Even relative to other shows, right? But that's fine. Hey, listen, you know what? They have obviously who they like, and who can obviously help them push their narrative and stuff like that. So okay. All right, so another disturbing thing, though, that I've seen at tables, and again, this comes as a vintage collector. So I used to, when there were cards that I used to see that were altered, trimmed, cleaned, whatever, okay? Their slab is altered, but they look really nice, okay? And it's like a card that I want, that I enjoy. And again, I'm a collector, so I don't resell them, right? But I used to buy them if they were nice, and if they graded basically a PSA 1. That used to be the price point that I would buy at, because that's what that was the rule of thumb back then, right? Trend I'm seeing now is that people are saying it looks great for the grade, and then they charge between a PSA 3 to a 5. I'm seeing higher than that as well, and it's actually quite disturbing, because I used to never see these cards in that manner. Probably because people weren't trying things, right? But I know PSA is obviously trying to catch a lot of things. I've noticed a ton of tables with a lot of vintage slabbed as altered, and they're charging that higher price. And the reason why I find that actually really concerning is that, Frank, I'm not accusing anybody, but if you had bad intentions, okay, you had a card that looks nice, let's say it's off-centered, or one of the corners or edges wasn't great, and you decided to go to work on it, okay, and if you got it by PSA, okay, so you send it to PSA, if you got it altered and it looks nice, you got it altered grade or authentic grade, you put it out there for at a PSA 3 or 5 because it looks great, you've technically not lost anything, you know what I mean? So you're still good on the grade, okay? But makes you wonder what actually got by on that table, what actually got trimmed or cleaned or whatever, got through past PSA, SJC, Beckett, whoever, CGC, whichever grading company, right? And they didn't catch it, and it's in that case as well. That's what concerns me, right? That's why I say this is turning into a business. It really isn't. There really is a difference between the hobby and the business, right? Like I said, right now they're trading Goldman Sachs They're not trading Draki Robinson cards, right? If this trend, let me tell you something, folks. I've been around even the 90s, and the reason why there was a period in the 90s when honestly the card market was like dead because people were trimming. There was fakes, I believe, being sold left and right, and that's where PSA actually kind of gained their foothold. And ironic because they graded that T206 Wagner PSA number 1, right? The McNall Gretzky Wagner, and ironically it was altered. So Bill Mastro chopped it, and he admitted it later. So anyways, that is a trend that I found disturbing, and I'll be honest with myself, it's kind of turned me a little off in terms of looking at stuff as well. Like there's other things I collect, so that's another big thing. Okay, next thing is Big Con. It's gonna be another one that's spicy. The reliance on fanatics, actually. The more I actually watched things and seeing how people were approaching things, how influencers, dealers, sponsors, athletes, everybody was so reliant on that fanatics hype train now. Where again, I worked in finance, so I've seen asset bubbles before. This is kind of starting to look like it to me. It's kind of scary. Like I said, how kids even see cards. I saw the Fanatics Casino. Again, people aren't really connecting with the collectible, I find, anymore. The card, there's nothing wrong with a base Aaron Judge card. I buy many of them. I'm a huge fan of Aaron Judge, right? And there's nothing wrong with it. But I find that people, they want that RPA or that, rare one of one that, has 10 versions of it. I don't know. It's and the big reliance on this is Fanatics. I will say, you really realize that when you see like I mentioned, the dealers, the influencers, everyone is on that Fanatics train, and they need that Fanatics train to keep going, right? Like I said, it screams of a bubble, and the question I kind of have is, what if Fanatics left? What if one day, Ruben had enough, or whoever, they did their IPO, and then they sold it, right, to somebody who thinks it's a turnkey project, industry's already set, and someone who isn't relying on so much debt financing, right? So I'm just saying, right, there's a floor to all this, folks. In 2008 in the U.S. there was a floor on housing. In Canada in 2025 there's a floor on housing. At some point there's a floor on how much you'll pay for an Otani rookie refractor, I guess, signed, right? So that's another thing. My overall impression was that we had a great time. Again, we love New York. Got some autographs. Fortunately, I had one athlete, Max Fried, cancel. I get it. He pitched. We went to the Yankee game. It was great seeing Judge hit a home run. Love it. But obviously it's a bummer. I had some stuff for him to sign, but he didn't. So that happens. You know what I mean? I'm not blaming Fanatics on that. But we had a great time anyways. We love New York. I saw some old friends of mine as well. Met some nice people. Met some not so nice people, but that's okay too. You'll have that. Now we haven't been in the National for many years. But I don't know. I guess all things being equal with that, when we from what I remember, and versus Fanatics Fest now. Um, as a card collector, someone I come in for the cards. So one of my goals was to pick up a Jackie rookie. Got that Cactus Jack box. Um, like I said, the pricing wasn't great, but it is what it is, right? But you also understand, as a Canadian, right now I have to deal with this little thing called a tariff if I want to buy things over the border. Obviously, foreign taxes, shipping is always an issue. So that's a thing, right? So for me, it worked out. And again, I don't flip. I don't consider sports cards an investment. So I just collect it. I enjoy it, But all things being equal, I actually prefer the national, right? Reason why as well is that I've heard, obviously other different perspectives on the Fanatics Fest, where dealers were getting mobbed by people buying. We didn't see that actually. At some point, even on Sunday, we saw several dealers actually saying we're not buying. I talked to a couple of dealers, and initially when they told me, it wasn't really necessarily a great show for them. Granted, I think they changed their tune after, because I think when I started looking at their inventory, and I think they didn't want to kind of give me the advantage of them being quote unquote desperate to sell, which I wasn't. I don't want to squeeze people, but I want everyone to eat. Let's put it that way, right? But they changed their tune after saying it was great after, right? But I think and dealers pay a lot for those tables, right? So you can't really negotiate fair prices if they're getting squeezed on their end. And I get it, it's expensive, right? But I didn't actually see I saw obviously a lot of action, but I saw a lot of people try to unload. Right, I did a lot of people trying to unload. A lot of some big sales I saw. Okay, not saying that. And a Jackie rookie is a decent sale as well for somebody. But the focus, going forward, is probably going to be more on the panels. Obviously the exclusives, they're going to have basketball and football in the future. So, look for probably high priced items there. I've seen other people talking about flipping and how that can pay for your trip. It's not going to do that for us. And quite frankly, honestly, that's not really collecting, right? That's I wouldn't even say that's investing, frankly. I think that's just gambling. I think I made a joke on one of them, at MGM better watch out, because Fanatics is going to be coming to Vegas and buying one of their casinos. A lot of people were focused on making content, not necessarily selling as well. I found that because I was trying to get attention of certain dealers, and they just don't want to. They're just too busy, I guess. So there are a lot of positives about Fanatics Fest. I'm sure a lot of the kids enjoy the activities, but as a collector, I guess because also prices keep going up, and I don't have infinite resources as well. I have a limit on what I'll cap it to. I'd say the national is probably the better value at this point. And again, I hope Michael Rubin don't hate me. Again, I appreciate it. And I'll assess it again. And also, the autographed guests are a big thing as well. Next year, I'm going to assess who they have, and I'll assess it again, right? I found it funny though, this year the National did get Patrick Ewing. He would have been nice. I love Patrick Ewing, but what are you gonna do? But yeah, next time, depending on, the Fanatics Fest is more expensive. Maybe we do the National next time, and then we take the extra money that we save and we do a separate trip to New York. Catch a show, watch a ball game, enjoy the food. Check out the great card stores here too. That David Adams store is pretty nice too. Anyways, folks, I've rambled on too long. No one will probably watch this, but anyone who does, and anyone who's watched any of our videos, We really appreciate it. We thank you. You guys are the goats. We just walk show floors. We collect, and the revenue from this channel goes to charity as well. So we're fortunate we don't need the money here. So, anyways, I want to thank you folks for watching. I hope you all enjoyed that content. We have other stuff. If you like, subscribe to our channel. And like this video if it's just something to think about in terms of if you are as a collector, or even you as someone who's participating in the industry. If you're investing, if you are genuinely investing big money into this industry, and you don't have a financial portfolio or something to lean back on, think about it, right? What if Fanatics left? What if Ruben said, after this IPO, we're selling out to this company, and that's it, right? Anyways, folks, I've rambled long enough. Thank you very much. Thank you, Fanatics. We enjoyed ourselves. I know this wasn't the most positive video, but we still appreciate it. Thank you. Michael Rubin, thank you. New York, thank you. Oh, and Yankee Stadium staff as well. I'm not sure if you heard that story, but thank you as well. Thanks for watching, folks. Bye-bye.